All right, so are you ready to dive into something really interesting today?
Oh, I'm always ready for a good deep dive.
Yeah, well, today it looks like we're heading into the world of Taiwanese dramas.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, you sent us this really captivating material on a show called A Thousand Goodnights.
Dive.
And it came with this really thoughtful blog post about how the show portrays love and relationships. And
Do it.
I think it's safe to say that you were looking for something a little bit deeper than just your average entertainment here.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like you were really trying to understand what makes a relationship truly special.
Exactly. And you know what?
What?
It seems like this blogger is on that same quest.
Really?
Yeah, they start their post by asking this question, and I bet you've asked yourself the same question.
Okay, shoot.
What does the most beautiful love look like?
Yeah. I think we've all wondered about that at some point.
Right. But here is what I think is really key.
What's that?
The blogger is not talking about that typical, fairy tale romance. They're looking for something way more meaningful.
Something real.
Something real, exactly.
Hmm.
And they seem to find that in A Thousand Goodnights.
Okay, so what is it about this show that really stands out to them?
Well, they are really drawn to the way the show portrays compatibility.
Okay, I like that.
And they even pull this quote from the male lead Cheng Nuo from episode 17.
Let's hear it.
He describes his ideal partner as someone who understands him, motivates him, cares for him.
Wow, that's really insightful.
I know, right?
So it's not about, like status or money or any of that superficial stuff.
Nope, it's all about a genuine connection.
It is really interesting that you bring that up because when I hear that quote, what I think about is just how much we all yearn for that kind of deep understanding. And, it goes way beyond romantic relationships.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like, think about it, that need for compatibility, for someone to truly get us.
Right.
We want that in our friendships, in our families, even at work to a certain extent.
You're right. It's about finding those people who really get us, who challenge us and support us,
Absolutely. But the blogger also mentioned something else that really struck me.
What's that?
They talk about how this kind of love, it isn't always about grand gestures or big dramatic moments.
Right.
They bring up a scene where Chang Nuo supports his girlfriend's dream, even though he thinks it's kind of crazy.
Uh-huh.
She wants to raise silkworms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's unique.
But even though he doesn't quite get it, he's still there for her.
Yeah, he supports her.
Exactly.
I think we've all been there in some way.
Totally.
Maybe not with silkworms.
Probably not with silkworms. But, we've all had those friends or partners with dreams that we don't totally understand.
For sure.
And I think it is in those moments that our support, that willingness to just be there for them, even when we don't get it, that really shows what our love is all about.
You're so right. And it makes you wonder, right, about what we expect from love in general.
Yeah. Are we looking for constant fireworks and those big moments, or are we open to something a bit more subtle?
Those smaller moments.
Those quieter expressions of love and support? Because maybe those are actually the ones that matter the most.
That's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what else?
Mm-hmm.
The blogger also mentions that they really liked how the show focuses on those small, everyday moments of connection.
Really?
Yeah.
Instead of relying on the usual drama tropes.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
they actually say that the show provided a warm and sweet journey,
Mm.
which I think is such a lovely way to describe it. And it makes me wonder,
About what?
well, what makes a relationship feel warm and sweet to you?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. What are those little things, those everyday moments that really make a relationship feel special?
And how does A Thousand Goodnights either challenge or maybe reinforce the ideas that you already have about what love should look like?
Yeah. What do you think?
Mm.
Well, I think those are some great questions to consider.
Yeah, they are.
And it also, it makes me think about how much media can actually shape the way we see love. Both the good and the bad.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, do we start expecting our own relationships to be these roller coasters of drama just because that's what we see on TV?
Yeah, it's easy to fall into that trap, isn't it?
It is. And I think that's what makes A Thousand Goodnights so refreshing.
Really?
It seems to be offering this whole different perspective.
Okay, like that.
One that really focuses on the beauty of those ordinary moments and the power of truly understanding each other.
And respecting each other.
Exactly. And, the blogger actually points out how Cheng Nuo and Tian King give each other advice without trying to control each other's choices.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not about dictating each other's paths.
Right.
It's about supporting each other's growth.
Now that is a healthy dynamic.
It really is.
It shows a level of mutual respect and trust that you don't always see.
Right. They let each other flourish as individuals while still being a part of a loving partnership.
I love that idea.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's not about trying to change each other.
Right.
It's about embracing each other for who you truly are.
Even if that means raising silkworms.
Huh, exactly. And it makes me wonder,
What?
are we missing this kind of love in our own lives?
That is a really good question.
Right? Like, are we so busy chasing after those whirlwind romances and those grand gestures that we are completely overlooking the beauty of these smaller moments of connection?
Yeah, the quiet moments.
The quiet moments, exactly. And you know what else?
What?
Maybe we are overlooking some of those relationships that already have these qualities.
Oh, you mean like...
Like, we tend to focus so much on romantic love.
Yeah.
But maybe there are friendships or even family relationships in our lives that already embody this kind of deep understanding and quiet support.
That's a really good point. We should all take a minute to appreciate those connections.
Absolutely. And maybe that's a big part of why this blogger was drawn to 1,000 Goodnights in the first place.
You think so?
I do. I think it reflects that yearning for a truly deep and supportive connection.
Whether it's romantic or platonic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about feeling seen and heard and understood.
Yeah, and maybe even more than that.
What do you mean?
Maybe this drama isn't just a sweet story. Maybe it's like a blueprint for building more meaningful relationships in our own lives.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
A blueprint for better relationships?
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about finding these connections.
Right.
It's about putting in the effort to nurture them.
Absolutely. Takes work.
Yeah, it does.
It's about being present,
Yeah,
being willing to communicate,
and being there for each other.
even when it's not all that glamorous or exciting.
Exactly. And it makes me wonder,
About it.
was the blogger's warm and sweet journey purely a result of watching the show? Or was it more about the reflections that the show sparked?
That's interesting.
Yeah, because maybe 1,000 Goodnights didn't necessarily change their life.
Right.
But it gave them the space to think about their relationships in a totally new way.
That's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that brings us to a really important question for our listener.
You got it.
So, to the person who sent us this amazing combo of a Taiwanese drama and these deep thoughts about love,
Yeah.
what are your takeaways from all this?
How has this deep dive changed your perspective on relationships?
We've talked a lot about the blogger's experience,
Of course.
but what resonates with you personally?
What aspects of 1,000 Goodnights, or even just this conversation,
Yeah.
have gotten you thinking differently about your own connections?
Are you maybe feeling inspired to seek out those quieter moments of connection?
Or appreciate the ways that people show they care?
Yeah. And are you maybe even rethinking what you value in a friend or partner?
Is it compatibility, shared values, that willingness to support each other's dreams, even the crazy ones?
Whatever your takeaways.
Absolutely.
We really hope this deep dive is giving you some food for thought.
Yeah, some new perspectives on this whole world of relationships.
Because at the end of the day, whether it's inspired by a drama or a conversation with a friend,
It's those real connections that matter most.
absolutely, those relationships that are built on mutual understanding and support.
That's what truly enriches our lives.
So beautifully said. And remember, building and maintaining those relationships, it's a journey, not a destination.
Very true.
It's an ongoing process of growing, communicating.
And showing up for the people in our lives.
Exactly. So keep exploring, keep connecting.
And keep sending us those deep dive requests.
We are always here, ready to dive in with you.
Always.
Until next time, this has been The Deep Dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does make you think, doesn't it?
It does. And you know what else the blogger specifically mentions?
What's that?
They really praise the show for being realistic about love.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, they point out how the two main characters, Cheng Nuo and Tian King, they give each other advice, but they don't try to control each other's choices.
Right. It's more about supporting each other's growth.
Exactly. Not dictating each other's paths.
This is like a true partnership.
It is, and it suggests a level of respect and trust.
Yeah, where each person can be themselves.
Exactly. And, evolve authentically.
Yeah, even if that means, taking on some unconventional paths.
Like silkworm farming, right?
Like, who would have thought?
But it makes you wonder,
What?
is this the kind of love that we are missing in our own lives?
That's a good question.
Are we so focused on, the whirlwind romances and the grand gestures
Yeah.
that we completely overlook the simple everyday moments of connection.
Yeah, the quiet beauty of just being there for each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And are we maybe overlooking some relationships that already have these qualities?
Oh, yeah.
We always talk about romantic love,
Uh-huh.
but what about our friendships?
Yeah.
What about our family relationship?
All right.
Maybe there are people in our lives who already demonstrate this kind of quiet understanding and support.
That's a really good point.
So maybe, the blogger is drawn to 1,000 Goodnights because it reflects something we all long for.
That deep connection.
That support system, whether it's romantic or not.
I think you're right. It's about those relationships where we feel truly seen and heard and understood.
And I think it's also about, challenging ourselves to bring those qualities into our own interactions.
Okay. Yeah.
Like maybe this show isn't just a heartwarming story.
All right.
Maybe it's a guide.
A guide for what?
A guide for building more meaningful relationships in our own lives.
I love that. A guide for better relationships.
Yeah, it's a really inspiring thought.
Because, it's not just about finding those connections, right?
Yeah.
It's about nurturing them.
Putting in the work.
Yeah, and creating that warm and sweet feeling that the blogger talked about.
It makes you think, was that warm and sweet journey just from watching the show itself? Or was it more about, the thoughts and reflections that the show brought up?
Maybe watching it gave them a new lens to see their own relationship.
Exactly. And I think that is such a powerful idea.
Yeah, it is.
The power of a story to make us reflect and maybe even inspire us to make changes.
So to our listener who sent us this awesome deep dive request,
The Taiwanese drama and those deep thoughts about love.
what are your takeaways from all this?
Has this deep dive shifted your perspective on relationships at all?
We've talked a lot about the blogger's experience, but what about you?
What really resonated with you?
Did anything in 1,000 Goodnights, or even just in our conversation today, make you think about your own connections in a different way?
Are you feeling inspired to maybe seek out those quieter moments with the people you care about?
Or appreciate the little ways that people show they care?
Are you rethinking what you value in a partner or a friend?
Is it compatibility? Is it shared values?
Or even that willingness to support each other's wildest dreams?
Whatever your takeaways are, we hope that this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
Definitely some new angles to consider as you navigate this whole world of relationships.
Because at the end of the day, those genuine connections, the ones built on understanding and support.
Those are the ones that truly enrich our lives.
So beautifully said. And remember, building those relationships is an ongoing journey.
It is.
It's all about growth and communication and being there for each other.
Keep exploring those connections.
And keep sending us those deep dive requests.
We love hearing from you.
We'll be right here, ready to dive in with you.
Until next time.
This has been The Deep Dive.